What if the ultimate escape hatch they are selling you is actually the heavy iron door to an invisible, inescapable prison? You are being heavily conditioned to believe that abandoning your exhausted physical body for a flawless digital paradise is the ultimate step in human evolution. But what Silicon Valley proudly calls the next internet, an ancient prophecy explicitly identified as the final empire. A digital Babylon where the ultimate currency isn't gold or crypto, but the very souls of men. They aren't just offering you a convenient, pain-free reality. They are systematically buying your consciousness with artificial dopamine. Today, we are ripping the mask off this virtual trap. You genuinely think you are just putting on a headset to play a game, but you are actually locking yourself inside a cage without walls. Imagine clocking out after a grueling 12-hour shift, your feet practically screaming and your back aching from standing all day long. You finally walk through your front door, utterly exhausted, and the real world just feels like too much of a heavy burden to carry. The bills are piling up, the news is constantly shouting about another crisis, and the physical toll of merely surviving is draining your spirit. Now what if, instead of facing all that heavy, messy reality, you could just slip on a sleek visor and make the pain instantly vanish? In the blink of an eye, you are completely transported to a stunning, flawless paradise where your body feels incredibly light and perfectly rested. It sounds like the ultimate, well-deserved vacation, but it is actually the very first step into the most dangerous, invisible cage ever built. You see, the architects behind this new digital utopia understand human exhaustion better than anyone else, and they are actively weaponizing our daily fatigue. They know that when you are physically drained and emotionally spent, you don't really have the energy left to fight back against a rigged system. So they intentionally let the physical world degrade, letting inflation soar and making the everyday act of buying groceries feel like an unwinnable battle. By making your real life feel like a constant, uphill struggle, they create a desperate, deeply human craving for a quick, painless escape route. They are essentially offering you the ultimate painkiller, a digital numbing agent that completely masks the symptoms without ever actually curing the underlying disease. It is a brilliant, ruthless strategy designed to make you willingly lock the door to your own cell from the inside. Think about those incredibly elaborate, brightly colored pastries you see in the store window, packed with artificial dyes and cheap, refined sugars. They look absolutely amazing and give you an immediate, intense sugar rush, but an hour later you feel entirely sick, lethargic, and completely empty. The digital Babylon they are building operates on that exact same toxic principle, feeding your mind artificial sweetness while completely starving your actual soul. You get the instant gratification of feeling powerful, rested, and wealthy inside the simulation, but it requires absolutely zero genuine effort or personal growth. It is the perfect, irresistible bait, specifically designed for a society that has been intentionally pushed to the absolute brink of its physical endurance. Why do the hard, messy work of fixing your real life when you can just download a flawless, pain-free existence with a single click? This is where the ancient warning about the fall of Babylon suddenly stops being an old story and becomes tomorrow morning's terrifying headline. The system doesn't need to build massive, intimidating concrete walls or hire thousands of armed guards to keep you from running away from their control. They just need to make the artificial simulation so incredibly comfortable and wildly addictive that you never ever want to take the headset off. It's the ultimate form of soft tyranny, arriving not with heavy boots and sirens, but with stunning graphics, personalized avatars, and infinite digital entertainment. You are gently lulled into a deep synthetic sleep, completely unaware that while your mind is resting in paradise, your reality is being stolen. The comfort is the trap, And by the time you realize you are caught, the physical world outside has already been quietly locked down. Man, it is honestly a little bit heartbreaking to think about how easily we trade our beautifully complex real lives for a cheap digital copy. We are trading the genuine warmth of the sun and the real, messy friction of human relationships for a perfectly rendered, sterile corporate hallucination. But they know that as long as they can successfully eliminate your immediate physical pain, you won't ask any difficult questions about who owns the server. You become so incredibly focused on maintaining that artificial high that you completely forget what it feels like to genuinely live and breathe outside. It is a slow, quiet surrender of the human experience, handed over willingly just to avoid the exhausting friction of navigating a broken physical world. Yet this flawless, pain-free escape hatch they are so generously offering us isn't actually a charity project designed to help humanity relax and recover. The massive tech conglomerates building these digital paradises are pouring trillions of dollars into this infrastructure, and they expect a massive, continuous return on their investment. They aren't just giving you a free ticket to a virtual utopia because they feel bad about your 12-hour work shifts and sore feet. There is a deeply hidden astronomical cost to entering this new Babylon, and it has absolutely nothing to do with traditional money or digital credits. Once they have successfully lured you in with the promise of escaping your physical pain, the real transaction silently begins behind the glowing screens. To understand exactly how they plan to profit off your digital slumber, we have to look closely at the invisible currency fueling this entire empire. Have you ever tried to convince a kid to put down their video game controller and just go outside to kick a soccer ball around the yard? You can literally see the fierce, hypnotic grip that the glowing screen has on their young, impressionable mind, making the vibrant physical world completely disappear. They become so intensely locked into that digital loop that the beautiful, tangible reality of the sport they actually love loses all of its appeal. That exact same overwhelming magnetic pull is what the architects of the digital Babylon are designing for us, but on a massive, inescapable, adult scale. They don't want us stepping outside to feel the real grass or breathe the fresh air. They want our eyes permanently glued to their carefully curated simulation. Because in this terrifying new economy, the absolute most valuable resource on the planet isn't gold or oil, but the unbroken, focused attention of the human mind. You might be thinking that access to these incredible, flawless virtual paradises will be completely free of charge, a generous gift from the tech elite. But if there is one golden rule you absolutely must remember about the modern internet, it is that if the product is free, you are actually the product. They don't need your physical wallet because they are quietly harvesting something infinitely more valuable every single second you spend wandering through their digital landscape. Every subtle movement of your digital eyes, every tiny spike in your heart rate, and every emotional reaction is meticulously tracked, measured, and instantly monetized. You are practically paying for your stay in this virtual utopia with pieces of your own consciousness, voluntarily handing over the raw data of your soul. It is a brilliant, entirely invisible transaction where you walk away feeling entertained, completely unaware that your deepest psychological profile was just sold to the highest bidder. The system understands that human attention is the absolute foundation of reality, because whatever you focus on eventually becomes the undisputed truth of your life. When they successfully hijack your daily focus, they don't just control what you see, they slowly and methodically dictate exactly how you feel and what you believe. It's exactly like watering a garden. Whatever specific plant you continuously pour your attention and energy into is the one that will eventually grow and dominate the soil. If you spend 12 hours a day immersed in their synthetic, corporate-owned simulation, your genuine connection to the real, physical world naturally withers and dies. They are aggressively farming your attention to build their massive digital empire, using your own vital biological energy as the free electricity to power their glowing matrix. Gosh, it is genuinely terrifying to realize that we are actively funding our own invisible imprisonment simply by looking exactly where they tell us to look. But they aren't just casually observing what you like to watch. They are mapping the deepest, most vulnerable emotional triggers buried inside your human clay. The digital environment is dynamically designed to continually test your limits, throwing highly calculated scenarios at you just to see exactly what makes you angry, sad, or joyful. It's like a pastry chef endlessly tweaking a complex recipe, adding a pinch of salt here or a drop of sugar there, until they find the exact formula to keep you addicted. They learn exactly how to manipulate your dopamine levels, creating an unbreakable psychological leash that keeps you constantly coming back for another quick, artificial hit. You start to trust the algorithm more than your own intuition, letting the cold, calculating iron gently steer your organic emotions down a highly profitable path. The simulation slowly becomes your entire reality, leaving your physical body behind as an empty, exhausted shell that only exists to keep the digital connection alive. There is an incredibly profound, ancient wisdom that clearly states, "Where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." By forcing you to invest all of your time, relationships, and emotional energy into their digital servers, they are effectively moving your treasure directly into their corporate vault. Your real-world friendships, your connection to nature, and your spiritual independence are completely replaced by glowing avatars and hollow, synthetic achievements that mean absolutely nothing. You are slowly transferring the very essence of your humanity into a system that views you as nothing more than a highly predictable, easily manageable data point. And they are literally draining the color out of your physical life, convincing you that the artificial glow of the screen is the only light you actually need. It is a masterclass in psychological warfare, making you willingly surrender your heart to a machine while genuinely believing you are the one in total control. Once your attention and your emotional energy are fully integrated into their closed-loop ecosystem, the system finally has everything it needs to close the ultimate deal. They have successfully unmoored you from the physical world, making you entirely dependent on their servers for your daily dose of happiness, connection, and self-worth. But what happens when the things that make you uniquely human, your memories, your personality, and your deepest connections, are entirely hosted on a corporate cloud? You see, harvesting your daily attention was just the necessary preparation for the final, most terrifying transaction mentioned in the ancient prophecy of Babylon. Because when a tech conglomerate legally owns the entire platform where your identity lives, they aren't just selling your browsing data anymore. They are setting up a literal modern-day marketplace to aggressively trade the one thing you were explicitly warned never ever to sell. Imagine renting a gorgeous, fully furnished house where you don't actually own the bed you sleep in, the walls around you, or even the air you breathe. It feels like a total dream setup at first, mostly because you didn't have to lift a finger or sweat to build any of it yourself. But here is the massive, terrifying catch that nobody ever reads in the fine print. The landlord holds the ultimate, unquestionable power over your entire existence. If they suddenly decide they don't like you, they can just pull the plug, and you are instantly left with absolutely nothing in the dark. Well, my friend, that is exactly the incredibly fragile, rented reality you are stepping into when you fully migrate your life into the digital Babylon. You are essentially moving your entire identity into a glowing corporate server where you own absolutely zero of the foundational real estate. When the ancient book of Revelation talked about the merchants of the earth trading the souls of men. It wasn't just some spooky poetic metaphor. We always pictured this dark, mystical transaction happening with a shadowy figure in a back alley. But the reality is just a sleek, 100-page terms of service agreement. By voluntarily moving your memories, your deepest friendships, and your personal achievements into their virtual world, you are literally transferring your human essence to a corporate platform. Your soul, in the practical sense of what makes you uniquely you, becomes nothing more than intellectual property resting comfortably on their privately owned servers. Gosh, they don't have to forcefully steal your spirit when you are eagerly wrapping it up and handing it to them in exchange for a flashy avatar. It is a brilliant, terrifying heist where the vault doors are thrown wide open by the very people being robbed blind. Think about how much of your actual life is already tied to these online networks and how devastating it feels to just lose a simple password. Now amplify that feeling by 1,000,000, because in the fully immersive digital Babylon, a corporate ban isn't just a minor inconvenience. It is a literal digital death. If you suddenly say the wrong thing, break a new rule, or your social credit score drops, they don't send you to a physical prison. They simply press a silent button, delete your profile, and in an instant, your entire digital life, your soul in the simulation, ceases to exist. You are entirely cut off from your friends, your virtual assets, and the only reality you have invested your time into, effectively wiping you off the map. It's a terrifying level of absolute control, leaving you completely at the mercy of a cold algorithm that doesn't feel an ounce of genuine pity. They desperately want to keep you distracted with the shiny illusion of digital ownership, selling you virtual land and imaginary clothes for real-world sweat and tears. But let's be brutally honest here. You can't genuinely own a piece of a world that someone else can turn off with a simple, quiet keystroke. You are just a temporary, highly profitable tenant in their glowing matrix, paying daily rent with your attention, your data, and your unquestioning compliance. It is honestly kind of funny, in a very dark and twisted way, how easily we get tricked into defending a castle made entirely of ones and zeros. We fight tooth and nail for our status inside a simulation, completely ignoring the fact that the actual ground beneath our digital feet is entirely fabricated. The iron grip of this corporate control is so tightly woven into the system that true rebellion inside the matrix is practically mathematically impossible. As you pour more and more of your actual living soul into this digital marketplace, the physical world you leave behind starts to feel incredibly dull. Why would you want to deal with the messy, exhausting friction of real human relationships when you can instantly summon a perfectly tailored digital companion? That is the exact toxic mindset they are actively cultivating, slowly training you to view your organic life as a cheap, disposable, and outdated rough draft. They are fundamentally devaluing the divine breath of life, turning the beautiful, chaotic human experience into a neatly packaged, easily consumable digital product. Man, you are trading the priceless, God-given clay of your existence for a shiny, rented space inside an iron cage that you can never truly call home. And the saddest part is that most people won't even realize they have sold their essence until the receipt is already printed and filed away. Once you are completely locked into this rented reality and they effectively own the platform where your soul resides, the psychological games really begin. They don't just want you to exist in their world. They need to keep you wildly entertained and completely distracted from the real-life chains wrapping around your ankles. So, to ensure you never ever want to cancel your subscription to Babylon, they hand you a counterfeit version of a deeply ancient, forbidden promise. They make you feel like an absolute, untouchable god within the boundaries of their simulation, granting you the power to create and destroy with a simple gesture. It is the ultimate ego trip, a massive rush of toxic dopamine designed to make you completely forget how powerless you actually are in the physical world. But when you start playing the creator inside a universe made of corporate code, you are stepping into a very old trap that promises heaven but delivers something else entirely. Think about what it actually takes to build a simple wooden table from scratch in the real physical world. You have to carefully measure the wood, sweat through the cutting process, get a few painful splinters in your hands, and exercise an incredible amount of patience. It is a deeply rewarding but fundamentally exhausting process that requires you to physically wrestle with the stubborn, unyielding nature of the natural elements around you. Now imagine stepping into the digital simulation where you can instantly construct a massive, flawless castle just by casually snapping your fingers together. Gosh, the contrast is absolutely mind-blowing, instantly stripping away all the beautiful friction and hard-earned discipline that makes physical human achievements so profoundly meaningful. They are essentially trading the deep, authentic satisfaction of real work for a cheap, instantaneous rush of artificial creation that requires zero genuine effort. This is where the ancient, terrifying lie from the Garden of Eden gets a shiny, high-tech update for the modern, exhausted digital consumer. Thousands of years ago, the serpent didn't offer a complex weapon or a magical spell. It simply whispered the ultimate intoxicating promise: you shall be like gods. The digital Babylon is actively fulfilling that exact same fake promise today, placing you in a customized virtual universe where you are completely invincible and all-powerful. You can fly, you can change your appearance with a thought, and you can bend the very laws of digital physics to your absolute will. Man, it is the ultimate incredibly toxic ego trip, designed to feed your deepest desires for control in a world where you actually have none. They are wrapping the oldest spiritual trap in human history inside a sleek, glowing visor, and we are eagerly putting it on without a second thought. When you constantly experience that level of fake, unlimited power, it completely rewires the delicate reward system inside your organic human brain. Your mind gets so incredibly accustomed to the instant gratification of playing a digital god that the slow, messy reality of physical life becomes absolutely unbearable. Why would you ever want to put in the grueling hours to fix your real-world finances or repair a broken relationship when you can just hit a reset button? This false omnipotence traps you in a relentless, exhausting loop of chasing higher and higher artificial highs, completely numbing you to the real world. It's exactly like drinking salt water when you are dying of thirst. It feels like immediate relief, but it is actually accelerating your own internal destruction. You become a prisoner to your own digital godhood, hopelessly addicted to a hollow simulation that constantly takes but never genuinely gives anything back. As this intoxicating illusion of power takes deeper root, something incredibly tragic happens to your natural, God-given drive to actually improve your physical surroundings. That beautiful, burning human desire to fight for genuine justice, to stand up against corruption, or to fiercely protect your real-life family is quietly extinguished. If you can simply log into a server and instantly feel like a victorious, beloved king, you completely lose the motivation to be a warrior in the real world. The global architects know perfectly well that a population of distracted, pacified digital gods will absolutely never rise up to challenge their real, physical tyranny. They are systematically neutralizing the strongest, most rebellious elements of the human spirit by giving us exactly what we want, but entirely inside a fake box. It is honestly a brilliant, deeply evil strategy to keep us completely subdued while they quietly rearrange the physical pieces on the global chessboard. The sheer irony of this entire setup is enough to make your head spin when you take a step back and look at the bigger picture. Inside the simulation, you might be commanding massive digital armies and ruling over sprawling, flawless virtual kingdoms with absolute, unquestioned authority. But in the physical, breathing world, you are sitting alone in a cramped, rented apartment, eating synthetic food and completely isolated from genuine human touch. You are a digital deity ruling over absolutely nothing, while simultaneously living as a powerless peasant in the physical reality that actually matters. They are letting you wear a glowing, pixelated crown just so you won't notice the very real, heavy iron chains wrapped tightly around your ankles. We are willingly trading our true, divine inheritance for a handful of magic beans in a marketplace that vanishes the second the power goes out. While your mind is busy soaring through the clouds and enjoying the intoxicating thrill of this fake digital omnipotence, your physical reality doesn't just pause. You can ignore the physical world all you want, but the biological clay you were meticulously crafted from still requires genuine sunlight, real movement, and authentic care. The system completely treats your organic body as a bothersome, inconvenient life support system that only exists to keep your harvested brain plugged into the glowing matrix. As you spend more and more of your waking hours playing a god in the machine, the sacred temple that houses your spirit begins to silently wither away. The ultimate price for this artificial divinity isn't just the loss of your ambition, it is the aggressive, intentional destruction of your physical shell. To truly see the horrifying cost of this digital Eden, we have to look closely at what happens to the human temple when it is completely left behind in the dark. Imagine managing a stunning historic farm hotel where you just lock the front doors and completely ignore the physical upkeep because you are too busy looking at perfect edited photos of it online. You can't just ignore the physical foundations, let the wood rot, and expect the beautiful roof not to eventually cave in on you. The exact same terrifying neglect is happening to our organic bodies right now under the heavy, intoxicating spell of this digital illusion. When you spend all your waking hours plugged into the digital Babylon, your physical shell is treated like a forgotten, dusty storage closet. You are practically abandoning the sacred breathing temple that houses your spirit to slowly rot away in the dark. It is a quiet, devastating physical decay, brilliantly disguised as the ultimate form of modern technological convenience. Gosh, your body was intricately and beautifully designed by the Creator to move, to sweat, and to feel the real, uneven earth under your feet. But the transhumanist agenda views your organic flesh as nothing more than a highly inefficient, bothersome life support system for your harvested brain, while your mind is busy exploring infinite digital galaxies and feeling like a god. Your actual muscles are quietly atrophying in a cramped, dark apartment. You are willingly trading the vibrant, messy vitality of genuine physical health for a sterile, synthetic drip of artificial nutrients and cheap dopamine. Man, it is completely unnatural to sit perfectly still for hours on end, entirely ignoring the desperate biological signals your own body is screaming out. We are literally letting our divine physical architecture crumble into dust just to keep our fake digital avatars looking flawless and shiny. They desperately try to sell you this terrifying, isolated lifestyle as the ultimate pinnacle of modern wellness, safety, and ultimate convenience. You are told that you don't have to risk getting injured outside, catching a virus, or dealing with the unpredictable, exhausting mess of physical nature. But let's be brutally honest here. Shielding yourself from every single physical challenge doesn't actually make you stronger. It just makes you incredibly fragile. It is exactly like trying to bake a perfect fluffy brownie cake without ever actually turning on the intense heat of the oven. Without the real physical friction of the outside world, your immune system and your bones just slowly surrender and completely give up. You become entirely dependent on their synthetic medical interventions and automated deliveries just to survive a mild breeze in the real world. This aggressive physical degradation isn't just a sad biological side effect. It is a highly calculated, deeply spiritual attack on your inherent human dignity. By convincing you to absolutely hate your natural organic form, they quietly sever the deep, ancient connection between your living soul and your Creator. You start looking at your own calloused hands and tired human eyes with total disgust, desperately wishing you could just upload yourself and escape. But your physical body isn't a mistake, a glitch, or a heavy burden. It is the miraculous breathing temple of the Holy Spirit. When you willingly let that sacred temple fall into absolute ruin, you are essentially handing over the ultimate keys of your existence to a machine. You become a tragic ghost, haunting your own decaying flesh, desperately holding on to a digital illusion while your physical reality quietly fades away. The sheer visual contrast is honestly enough to send chills straight down your spine when you actually stop and look at the whole picture. Inside the glowing simulation, your digital self is a radiant, immortal deity with perfect skin, massive wealth, and absolutely boundless, limitless energy. But if someone were to suddenly pull off your glowing visor in the real world, they would just see a pale, exhausted captive staring blankly at a wall. It's exactly like pouring all your time and money into upgrading a fictional character in a video game while you literally starve in your own living room. They are completely draining the vibrant life force out of your physical clay to power the massive, unfeeling iron servers of their empire. We are rapidly becoming a society of beautifully rendered digital gods trapped permanently inside failing, severely neglected biological cages. As your physical body becomes entirely reliant on their automated systems for basic survival, you completely lose the ability to stand on your own 2 feet. You slowly forget how to grow real food, how to navigate without a glowing map, and how to physically survive without the comfort of the machine. The system genuinely wants you so physically weak and deeply dependent that the very idea of unplugging feels like a literal, terrifying death sentence. You are completely at their mercy, blindly trusting that the digital utopia will keep the lights on and the synthetic food flowing forever. But what actually happens to the fragile, neglected human body when the invincible iron matrix suddenly experiences a catastrophic global power failure? If you have completely forgotten how to live and breathe in the physical world, the exact moment that server crashes is going to be your absolute worst nightmare. Imagine waking up from an incredibly vivid, lucid dream where you were reigning as an absolute king, possessing everything your heart ever desired. You open your eyes, expecting to see your royal palace, but instead you quickly realize your actual physical house is burning down all around you. The thick smoke is filling your lungs, but your legs are so weak from being asleep for so long that you literally cannot run away. This is exactly the horrifying reality waiting for everyone who completely trades their physical existence for a cozy spot inside the digital Babylon. It feels so incredibly safe and permanent while you are deeply plugged in, but the physical reality you abandoned is quietly catching fire. When the digital illusion finally shatters, you are left completely defenseless, trapped in a broken body that you forgot how to actually use. The massive tech empires building this matrix genuinely want you to believe that their glowing servers are completely indestructible and will last forever. They arrogantly project an image of absolute infallible power, convincing millions that their artificial reality is far more stable than the physical Earth. but the ancient prophecy regarding the fall of Babylon paints a drastically different, incredibly terrifying picture of how this entire system actually ends. The texts explicitly warn us that despite all its blinding wealth and technological glory, its total judgment and complete collapse will arrive in a single hour. Man, it won't be a slow, gradual decline where you have plenty of time to gently pack your bags and gracefully exit the simulation. It will be a sudden catastrophic blackout, ripping the digital veil away and violently throwing everyone back into the harsh physical world. Just try to imagine the sheer, absolute panic of millions of people being simultaneously disconnected from their perfectly curated artificial paradises. 1 second, they are flying through a flawless digital sky, and the very next second, they are staring at a dirty, cramped apartment ceiling. The blinding silence of the real world will be completely deafening after spending years immersed in the endless, synchronized noise of the corporate network. Gosh, without those glowing digital filters protecting their eyes, the sheer brightness of the real sun will feel incredibly overwhelming and deeply terrifying. They will try to reach out and use their digital godlike powers to fix their surroundings, only to realize their hands are shaking and completely empty. The system failure isn't just a technological glitch. It is a brutal, unforgiving collision with the reality they tried so desperately to escape. This terrifying awakening might not even require a massive global power outage to completely ruin your perfectly constructed digital life. What happens when the corporate algorithm simply decides that your personal social credit score has dropped too low for you to remain connected? They don't have to send armed guards to physically evict you. They just quietly revoke your access, instantly banishing you to the physical wasteland. You are forcefully pushed out into the cold, completely cut off from your virtual friends, your digital assets, and the only reality you know. You will suddenly be forced to navigate a dirty, broken physical world that you haven't actually paid attention to or cared about in years. It is the ultimate, horrifying betrayal, realizing that the digital god you worshipped can simply throw your soul away with a single keystroke. When that inevitable server crash finally happens, the sheer physical reality of human existence is going to hit like a massive freight train. People will suddenly feel the sharp, biting pain of real winter cold, the deep, agonizing ache of genuine physical hunger and profound isolation. They will try to eat a block of synthetic food, but without the digital taste filter making it seem like a grand feast, they will literally gag. All the people who proudly mocked the idea of planting a real garden or reading a physical book will be completely and utterly lost. They traded their invaluable God-given survival instincts for the temporary comfort of a digital pacifier, and now the battery is completely dead. The iron matrix they trusted with their very souls will simply shut down, leaving the neglected clay to fend for itself in the absolute dark. This impending catastrophic collapse of the digital Babylon isn't just a dark, gloomy prediction. It is a massive, urgent wake-up call for us right now. The absolute worst time to figure out how to survive in the real physical world is the exact moment the virtual one violently burns down. We are standing right on the absolute edge of this monumental shift, watching the global elite frantically try to lock everyone inside their glowing cages. But as long as the servers haven't completely trapped us yet, we still have a narrow, rapidly closing window to make a totally different choice. The system desperately wants to buy your soul before the lights permanently go out, but you possess the ultimate power to simply walk away today, to understand exactly how we can break these invisible chains and reclaim our reality before the collapse. We have to look at our final move. The real physical world is incredibly messy, exhausting, and demands genuine sweat, but it is the absolute only place where true love, real faith, and authentic freedom actually exist. The architects of Babylon desperately want to buy your soul by offering you a comfortable, permanent digital coma. But true, unyielding resistance today isn't just about stocking up on emergency food. It is about radically and stubbornly refusing to abandon the physical world. Are you going to keep numbing yourself with their highly addictive artificial dopamine, or are you truly ready to stand firm in the dirt and reclaim your physical God-given reality? I want you to stop for just 1 second. Look around your actual room and tell me in the comments below, what is one real, tangible thing in your physical life that you would never, ever trade for a perfect simulation? I'm going to be reading through your answers and replying. If you absolutely refuse to sell your reality to become a battery in a corporate matrix, you need to stand with us right now. Subscribe to the Hidden Prophecy channel and turn on those notifications so you never walk blindly into their invisible prison. Stay firm, stay in the real world, and I will see you in the next investigation.